Welcome to the Purple Elephant Show. I am your host, KC Phoenix, and I do have a little bit of explaining to do here. First thing is, I grew out my hair a little bit, so you can see it's coming back in. Usually, I shave before I do my shows and cut my hair and everything, but this weekend I was just kind of over it. And then the other thing is, I'm wearing my shirt backwards here. And I'm explaining this to those who are actually watching this show, not to the podcast listeners, because obviously you can't see what I'm doing or how I look right now over the podcast. Um, I went outside. I'm very funny about how I do things. And I usually take my shower in the morning, and then I'll do a short walk in the afternoon, and then I'll take another shower in the evening. And I did my walk in the afternoon, and of course I got a little bit sweaty. So I couldn't do a white t-shirt because obviously I didn't want to just get another white t-shirt dirty for no reason. And I didn't want to take a shower earlier than when I usually take a shower. Therefore, I was like, okay, I have to stick with the shirt I have on. The reason I turned it backwards was because on the front of the shirt, it has the Fantastic Four and some other Marvel characters. And more than likely, it would be okay. But I like to err on the side of caution. And not saying that this particular video would come across Disney's desk and they're like, hey, we didn't give him permission to use that, because I'm not editing anything to blur stuff out. I'm just not in the mood to do that. As I said, editing and all that stuff takes a lot of time. So instead of editing to blur out the front of my shirt, I just decided to turn my shirt around backwards, and you can only see the white part of the shirt. So there you have it. And that is what we have. For those who are keeping track of the podcast, there is a podcast only episode up. It is the George Floyd and Riots 2020. Be sure to check that out. I recorded it today. It is a little bit on the long side. It's almost an hour, give or take. So I went into a discussion about George Floyd, that particular incident, and also just my thoughts on the Black community as well. I feel I can say a little something about the Black community, considering that I am Black. So I just had to get some things off my chest. I still feel I didn't have enough time to get things off my chest in every single thing that I was thinking of, but I didn't. I said what I felt was important at the time when I was recording, and I kept it under an hour because if I could have kept going for possibly another hour, but I didn't want to do that. So, yeah, if you have a chance, go check it out. ThePurpleElephantShow.com will take you directly to the podcast platform. The show is on Spotify, also Apple Podcasts, and many other podcasting platforms. It is a podcast only episode. And as I mentioned previously in one of my episodes, there will be episodes that are podcast only. So in order to listen to those episodes, I recommend you subscribe to the podcast. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to click the subscribe button along with the notification bell. Or on Daily Motion, please subscribe, because for some reason I get the views, but I don't get the subscriptions. Go figure. And I'm fine with that. I'm happy that people are taking the time to watch and listen. Now that I have moved the housekeeping stuff off the plate, let me go ahead and get into what I plan on talking about, which isn't going to be that long. It is the title of this episode, which is I Don't Want a New Normal. When I was outside walking, I noticed that some people were wearing masks and some people were not wearing masks. I wasn't wearing a mask. It was, I think, 80 degrees outside or something like that, whatever, Los Angeles. weather the temperature is today in Los Angeles. And for the past few weeks, the temperature has been 70s, 80s, 90s. It's going to be 90s, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this coming week. And for those who don't know, the virus doesn't last long in the sunlight. It only lasts a few minutes. Also, when it comes to masks, even Dr. Fauci said masks really aren't that effective. He said that himself. You can actually look that clip up. He was on, I want to say 60 Minutes or another show, but I'm pretty sure it was probably 60 Minutes. But Dr. Fauci himself said that the masks really aren't that effective. It's just more of a symbolism type thing to make people feel like they're safe as well. Also, what people don't seem to realize is that for the little bit the mask does work, it only works with keeping the virus, keeping you, if you're infected, keeping you from infecting somebody else. But again, only a little bit, not much, like very, very little. As for you getting the virus from somebody else, the mask doesn't protect from that. So people are going around wearing these masks, and you're seeing this everywhere, and in the grocery stores and all this other stuff. And another thing that I don't like is the essential versus non-essential. That's the other new normal they want us to accept. I don't like that. I feel, which I also discussed in the previous podcast only episode, George Floyd and Riots 2020, when I was talking about racism and the stepchild of racism, classism. I feel with this essential, non-essential stuff, it's a form of classism. It's like saying, oh, well, yeah, you're good enough, but no, you're not good enough to open. Yeah, great. You can go ahead and work because you're good enough, because you're essential. You're in the essential class. But what you do, you're not essential. You're non-essential, actually. To me, that's a form of classism. This, for me, isn't what the country should be when it comes to the United States as a whole. And they tried to sell us this new normal thing once upon a time when the economy was growing at a slow pace and when manufacturing jobs weren't coming back, we were losing them. I want to say about 2,000 jobs a month we were losing in manufacturing. And the news would always keep pushing the talking point, oh, well, it's the new normal and those jobs just aren't going to come back anymore. And we just have to get used to this. We're managing a decline. The United States' best days, they're behind us. And we have to accept that. This is the new normal. When they were pushing that, people were starting to accept it. Not everybody, but there were people accepting that talking point. But then President Trump comes along, and all of a sudden, there's 500,000 manufacturing jobs that come back. Jobs that they said were not going to come back. All of a sudden, President Trump gets an annual GDP growth of 3%, which, yes, President Obama did get above 3% during his term as president a few times, but he didn't get it on an annual basis. He never got it on an annual. Some would be low, some would be high, some would be low, some would be high. And just a little fun fact, quiet as it's kept, if it wasn't for the Fed in the state of Texas, the economy under President Obama would have been garbage. And if you don't believe me, check the numbers. Look at all the jobs that came out of Texas, the state of Texas, Texas, and look at the interest rates when President Obama was in office. And then you'll see what I'm talking about. That's the little secret that no one really talks about. So when they talk about a new normal now, I feel like they're doing a thing where they're trying to manage the decline yet again. They're trying to tell us, oh, well, we need to accept that we're just not going to be number one in the world. We need to accept that we can't continue to evolve. We need to accept that the economy just can't grow the way it used to grow. And we need to accept that we can't get together and congregate in church, or we need to accept that some businesses just aren't essential, and we need to accept that other businesses are essential. No, we don't. Not in America. Maybe somewhere else. Maybe in China. I see people were wearing masks in China before all this happened. And that's great. If that's your thing, go live in China. But as for America, we're better. We don't need to do essential versus non-essential. Every job, mostly every job, some companies internally can always trim the fat. But most jobs are essential because Americans need to work. They need a paycheck. So this essential, non-essential thing, I'm not for that new normal. This wearing masks everywhere as if the Black Death is about to come and grab you and knock you off your feet at any second, I'm not for that new normal. As I mentioned before on one of my episodes, China, United States, and Revolution. The medical industry needs to step up their game. We don't need to worry about these things. We shouldn't have to worry about these things. Instead of focusing on treating, focus on curing. The money will come in other forms. And I'm surprised insurance companies haven't got on this bandwagon, because the more cures to diseases out there, the more money insurance companies save. If I was the head of an insurance company, I would be pushing for cures. I would be pushing my insurance company with any type of profit, any little bit of profit. I would invest it somewhere where it would push for a cure for certain diseases. That way, I don't have to worry about somebody filing claims for treatments costing my company more money. But that's just me. So yeah, I don't want a new normal. No. I believe in evolving. I believe everything must change. But not change for the worse, change for the better. This isn't better. And that's all I got. So again, thepurpleelephantshow.com. You can listen to the podcast there. We are on Spotify and Twitter at RealTPES if you want to send a message on Twitter. I usually answer on Twitter if someone contacts. And also, if you leave a comment on the videos, whether it's YouTube or Daily Motion, I try my best to always reply to comments or like or give a heart or something along those lines. Instagram, The Purple Elephant Show for Instagram. Thank you again for supporting the channels. Thank you for supporting the show, the podcast, and listening and watching. I really appreciate that, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Be blessed.